that will shape your mind and business for growth in line with today's reality. Join us every Friday, 5.
Fuel subsidy debate continues. The Central Bank of Nigeria says forex repatriation increased by 40%. UN seeks $396 million for Northeast Nigeria. Plus, oil falls in surprise increase to US inventories. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Benny Adams, your guide. It's time to talk business, and we will be bringing you up to speed with happenings in the world of business. Stakeholders say the removal of fuel subsidy is a step Nigeria must take as the nation looks to building an economy that is less dependent on oil. At a policy session on Nigeria's post-oil economic future put together by Carnegie Endowment for International Peace and Agora Policy, panelists set agenda for the incoming administration. Leah Katung Babatunde has that report.
Nigeria, like most African countries, is resource-rich, but experts have over time posited that these resources have not clearly translated to desired gains. The deadweight that accompanied oil revenue for decades is subsidies, and the consensus here is that it has to go.
For every $1 billion Nigeria spends on fuel subsidy, it is $1 billion out of education, $1 billion out of healthcare, $1 billion out of power, $1 billion out of infrastructure.
We are in a situation where in economics we call it tragedy of the commons, which is a situation where within a community everyone recognizes what's the right thing to do, what will benefit everyone, but if any one person tries to do the right thing and the others don't follow, then they're going to be worse off.
Panelists are of the view that policy direction must be frontally adhered to, with the sole aim of promoting viable economic performance that will reflect in the overall development index of the country driven by restructuring.
We have a political culture that has no regard for public service, that's driven by pursuit of personal interest, and most of the time, self-enrichment or enrichment of my state or my ethnic group, is a toxic political culture that has developed.
If we don't tame the politics, if we don't produce what I call productive politics, rather than the consumption-oriented, almost rent-seeking kind of distributional politics that has dominated over time, we are not going to be able to achieve both speed and sustainability.
We have a new government come May 29. The only way that government will perform is if we go back to those roots where merit is what determines how this government that comes in will be run.
Sanji and Agora are leading the conversation for these policy reforms.
Development, the sustainable variant, is not a naturally occurring phenomenon. It is created.
There are also positive deviances. There are cases in which reforms have happened, federal agencies have been run properly, etc. So that cannot be the sum total of the explanation. That is another set of theories that we need to set aside.
The general take here is that the incoming administration must take deliberate steps to ensure the right policies coexist with the right drivers.
President Muhammadu Buhari has described the Afam Fast Power Plant as an important part of the evolving story of government's aspirations to bring electricity to millions in their homes and businesses that provide a livelihood. President Muhammadu Buhari, who was represented by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, stated this during the inauguration of Afam 3 Fast Power Plant in Rivers State. Ogedi Inyekwere completes the report.
Afam 3 Fast Power Plant brings to bear the importance of private sector participation in building up capacity along the power value chain. The Vice President says a major weakness of the privatization process has been inadequacy of private investment and new cash injections. He, however, says the tide is turning with indigenous companies making significant investments such as the 100% acquisition of the 966 megawatts in stock capacity Afam Power PLC and Afam 3 Fast Power Limited, jointly referred to as Afam Genco, at an acquisition cost of 105.3 billion naira.
These transactions include the Quest PLC that became core investor in Yola Disco in 2020 with a transaction worth 19 billion naira. Last month, the NCP approved a 30-year concession on Zuberi Hydro Power Plant at $70 million a year for the entire concession period.
He notes that the introduction of service-based tariff and payment discipline initiative for the sector, as well as the introduction of national mass metering program, has led to the doubling of market collections in the Nigerian electricity supply industry from 40 billion naira a month in 2020 to a record of 80 billion naira per month in the first quarter of 2023.
To encourage gas producers and gas suppliers to have a fundamental rethink about supply security and prefer ways to ensure our gas supply can improve and meet the gap and growing demands of the Nigerian electricity supply industry.
He affirms that programs have been created for upgrade electrification, while the federal government has revamped the Rural Electrification Agency such that it now has the capacity to provide renewable upgrade electricity supply. In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Inyekwere.
Recently, the federal government approved the implementation of the national blockchain policy for Nigeria. A blockchain is a decentralized, distributed, and a public digital ledger used to record transactions across many computers. Such records cannot be altered retroactively without the alteration of subsequent blocks and the consequences or consensus of the network. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Pantami, said the policy was developed in consultation with stakeholders involving more than 50 institutions and personalities. That is the focus of our conversation today on the program. And with me to discuss more on the issue is Chima Achu. He is the COO, Dominion Blockchain Solutions Limited. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Good. Last week, Nigeria announced a blockchain policy as an industry player. What does this mean to the economy and the nation at large? First of all, can you tell us how this blockchain thing works in a layman's language?
Well, blockchain is, is the decentralization of a ledger, or what you call data, that allows for, a proper management of data in such a way that data cannot be centralized in the sense of one person being in charge of it. What it means in essence is that data is coded in such a way that the distribution of the information is tailored in such a way that one person does not have control or authority or ability to manipulate data You know, so it's a very secure system, is accurate, it's very transparent way of storing data, and that is why the technology is usually or often said to be a technology of the future. So coming back to your question, it's a very major or a big boost, not only to the sector but for the entire economy at large. Because when you look at the role this technology is going to play, we have had issues that has a lot to do with, you know, data management in Nigeria. We have had a whole lot of issues that has to do with security of information, security of data, data integrity. So all of these are the issues that this blockchain technology will be solving or addressing. You know, that is why it's a very major boost and a welcome development to the country, to the economy, and to various sectors of the economy where this technology applies.
Okay, service delivery or efficient service delivery is said to be a key ingredient for economic growth. Where or how do you see blockchain coming in to facilitate this process?
In so many ways, in so many sectors. You know, when you look at issues around identity management, we have had that issue. We have had the ministry trying to manage data, manage the large number of persons trying to, you know, get registered in their database. If we put these things on blockchain technology, it will be more easier to manage. There won't be issues around duplicity. There won't be issues around, even at with INEC, if INEC can adopt blockchain in managing even voting itself, it's going to be a more transparent way of every citizen to be captured and to be able to, you know, have an information that is not highly immutable. By being immutable, I mean simply not being able to, you know, manipulate or change by one person, you know, one person in charge somewhere. So it's highly decentralized, and that is the beauty of this technology. So the integrity of it is immeasurable, from logistics management to pharmacy to agriculture to land registry, issues around, you know, multiple allocation or reallocation of lands to different persons. All these issues will be solved by blockchain as a technology, and that is why for some of us in the industry, we are happy that the government is beginning to, you know, see it beyond crypto, because most times when you hear blockchain, what comes to most people's mind is crypto. But when you look at the use cases that traverses all sectors of the economy, you appreciate the fact that this technology is not only a technology of the future, it's a technology of now. And I'm happy that Nigeria is realizing that, and they are queuing with the rest of the world, you know, in order not to miss out with the opportunities and benefits. Crypto is just the financial aspect, the financial transaction aspect of blockchain. But when you look at the use cases that, you know, cuts across different sectors of the economy, you know, it's something that is a huge benefit to the country at large.
Okay, Mr. Achu, from your explanation, it's no longer a technology of the future, but it's a technology of now, and it's good to know that Nigeria has keyed into it by bringing up this policy as it is. But would you say, from the infrastructure we have on ground, are we ready for the takeoff of this technology? I want to believe this technology is premised on internet facilities. Are we ready for that?
Well, we may not be 100% ready, but kudos must be given to the current administration, for they have made efforts in trying to, you know, train Nigerians, and that was where NIDA, as at last November, December last year, they got about 30,000 Nigerians to be trained on blockchain technology. The training has just been concluded by our company, and the trainees will pass out this week, God's willing. So I believe that NIDA and the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy is also making efforts on their own, you know, even without the formal approval. But with this approval, it's really going to be a door opener, because I also have an idea that the NIDA has a plan to train over 300 Nigerians again, still on blockchain technology. So infrastructure-wise, yes, efforts are being made, especially when it has to do with the manpower needed to drive this technology. So I believe that the government is already making efforts in that direction, and we are really ready to join the rest of the world.
Okay, you mentioned NIDA in facilitating this process to ensure a smooth takeoff. What's the relationship between policy makers like them and you, that is in the sector, as it were? What's the relationship? What is the synergy? How closely are you working to ensure that this is effective and this has been accepted largely?
Yeah, the truth of the matter is that the government, through the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy and NIDA, they have involved industry players. You know, even with the coming up of the policy, they include the sector players in coming up with the policy. So it's not like they sat down on their own. They asked for input, they asked for suggestions. You know, we submitted papers to that effect. So we are carried along in the process, which is a very healthy thing for, you know, the sector entirely. So I believe that the handshake becomes necessary because there are things you will see as a regulator that as a player in the sector you will see differently. So but with the collaboration between those of us in the private sector and NIDA, the ministry, you know, there is a synergy, there is a relationship, there is a handshake, and we all hope that all this will, you know, be to the benefit of the country at large.
Okay, I want to believe you have details of this policy. What are the quick gains and the long-term benefits of the policy?
The gains are, innumerable. Just too much for us to, you know, begin to list all of them. But I will be very quick to list the specific ones. Like I mentioned a while ago, when it comes to issues around identity management, issues around credentials verification, which when you graduate from a university, you don't need to start chasing your institution for your documents to be verified. You know, we still have that problem as a country. But in other countries, they have gone past that. All you need to do is to, on blockchain technology, once that is imputed, any information you want from that institution is already on that technology. Anybody can access it from anywhere in the world. So credentials management is very key. In land registry, where issues around, you know how land can be here, you know, or land issues. So it can solve that problem permanently. On security issues, you know, cyber security issues, cyber threats, or even on digital assets management. You know, it may interest you to also know that in Nigeria here, we also have local indigenous companies that can trace digital assets. You know, and these are people that EFCC, ICPC, Nigerian police should be working closely with to trace digital assets. If they like, let them loot the funds and convert them in digital assets. The company will help them trace the assets, even if they send it to 1,000 wallets. They have the technology to trace them. So it's a very good technology that will ensure, you know, public sector accountability, probity, integrity in public service. So it's a welcome development that government is really having a buy-in in this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chima Achu, COO, Dominion Blockchain Solutions, for giving us insight into how the blockchain technology works. I can't wait for this to take off because, like you said, the advantages are numerous. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us at this time.
Thank you for having me.
Gold pulls back as U.S. inflation data looms. Let's see how other commodities are trading. The federal government, through the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development, has inaugurated the North Central Zone Gold Processing Plant in Mopamuro local government area of Kogi State. Francis Odojo reports that the initiative is part of President Muhammadu Buhari's economic sustainability plan.
Thank you.
This is the gold processing plant, which is expected to add value to the activities of mining and miners in the North Central Zone.
We emphasize security to avoid vandalization of this great project.
We are excited about this opportunity. This present to Kogi State in particular and Nigeria in general.
The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Lamileka Digbite, says the inaugurated project with the artisanal and small-scale mining cluster development mechanism will improve produce marketing and job creation, ensure proper monitoring and harnessing of raw materials for the nation's economic benefit and for those in the mining business.
This project houses several activities to curb the exploitation of artisanal miners and small-scale gold miners so they can get appropriate pricing and have their gold processed before it's being sold onwards.
The commissioning of this project marks the beginning of the unlocking of the prosperity of this land and of all the states in the North Central Geopolitical Zone.
Kogi State Governor, represented at the event by the Senior Special Assistant on Mineral Resources, Muhammad Yusuf, assured the federal government of a collaborative effort.
We are going to look into it critically by giving the support to the federal government.
The gold plant is the second to be completed in the 6 geopolitical zones after 3 years, with gold refining machines and other facilities to aid the smooth running of the plant. From Mopamuro, Francis Sudojo.
The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, said foreign exchange repatriation into Nigeria increased by 40% as a result of the implementation of its RT200 FX program. Emefiele said that exporters who do not sell their export proceeds at the investor and exporter window would not be eligible for the rebate. This was made known by Emefiele while delivering his keynote address at the RT200 Non-Oil Export Summit in Lagos. The summit, which was the third in the series since the beginning of the program, had the theme Challenges and Prospects to Success. Now, oil prices fell on Wednesday, ending a 3-day rally as the unexpected rise in U.S. oil inventories sparked demand. Concerns and investors awaited inflation data for a steer on U.S. interest rates. Brent crude dropped $1.09 to $76.35 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude fell $1.04 to $79.67. And a quick look at the markets, talking about the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The market closed in red, the first time we're recording such losses for the week, as the oil share index depreciated by some percentage to close at 52,209.06 basis points. We had a volume of shares amounting to 554.3 million traded in 5,168 deals, and the value of such transaction is 5.9 billion naira. The equity capitalization was 28.4 trillion naira. And on the global scene, European markets muted as investors await U.S. inflation data. Let's now join Neka Oko as she brings us up to speed with an update.
Global stocks edged lower this Wednesday as cautious investors assessed the latest crop of earnings and awaited a U.S. inflation report for insights on the path of Federal Reserve rate hikes. Markets are also looking out for an interest rate decision by the Bank of England on Thursday, which is expected to be the 12th consecutive hike by the central bank. Asia-Pacific markets fell ahead of the data releases. Japan's Nikkei 225 was 0.41% down to end the day at 29,122.18, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index extended its Tuesday losses as it slid 0.53%, while the Shanghai Composite lost 1.15%. In Europe, stocks were muted. The DAX was down 0.27%. UK's FTSE slid 0.19%, and the French CAC lost 0.21%. On Wall Street, futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 57 points, while S&P 500 futures and Nasdaq 100 futures also pulled back by 0.1% each in early trading. Midweek trading on the African continent was also bearish. Namibia's overall index plunged 10.39% to lead losses in the region in early trade. The Tone Index lost 0.22%, while the JSE Africa Top 40 decreased by 0.11%.
It's nice doing business with you. Business Express returns tomorrow at 9 a.m.